It's your girl Nylah, and I'm back with another video.
Welcome back to the Vibers, the Blue Heart Gang. And if you're just getting here for the first time, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click those notification bells so that you can know every time I go live or when I do another upload. Because now we are in a relationship and yeah, we got to get into this bullshit. Baby, it is all alleged, so please do your own research, but we need to get into this mess. Do you guys actually know who Claressa Shields signed this deal with? Probably not. We need to get into it. I've been promising you guys this video. It took longer than necessary because I made some mistakes during editing and it was just a mess. Anyway, I'm back. I got the information and I hope you enjoy the video. Now let's get into this mess. When Claressa Shields signed her $8 million deal, sis ran to every platform declaring she had made history. She didn't just announce the deal, she toured around like a trophy, telling every mic, camera, and comment section that she had made history and secured the biggest bag women's boxing had ever witnessed. Now listen very closely because these are important moments to understand.
Said Papoose has been the glue to make all this work, and I'm very grateful for our friendship and business relationship. But today's really marks a groundbreaking moment in the sport of boxing and in women's sports. We are proud to announce this partnership between Claressa Shields, the GOAT, our company Salida Promotions, and Wynn Records. This is the richest agreement in women's boxing history, including a minimum guarantee, as Claressa has said, of $8 million across multiple fights in multiple years. But the significance of this deal isn't only in the dollar figure amount. It's the structure of the deal that makes this groundbreaking. But this is an elite collaboration between a generational talent, a world champion Claressa Shields, a major record company in Wynn Records with significant cultural influence.
Okay, so what you heard him say was this was groundbreaking, that this was the largest payout across multiple years. All of this is going to be debunked in a few minutes, so I need you guys to remember and keep up with the information that I'm giving you. And please do not be in my comment section talking about somebody's hating just because we're putting the truth out there. And if you actually like or love or support Claressa, I would think that you would want to know this information, but more importantly, you would want Claressa to know. Because we got to break down the business of Wynn Records and who's behind it and who is or isn't funding it. And that's exactly what we're about to do. So be patient with me as I break all of this stuff down. And do me a favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because now we are definitely in a relationship because you're just as invested as I am in being nosy. She framed it like women's boxing was some poverty-stricken corner of the sports world, and she was the first woman to ever escape the struggle and reach elite financial status. She literally had a lot of us out here thinking that a lot of these women boxers were broke, they didn't have money, and they were working for pennies. Her framing of professional sports when it came to women's boxing was that the men are always paid well and the women are paid bad. Her framing made it seem more like women were being discriminated against financially in the boxing world, and she came through like the quote-unquote GOAT and busted all those barriers for everyone. Now, let me be very clear. There is absolutely a pay disparity in sports. We see it with the WNBA compared to the NBA. We see it in women's boxing compared to men's boxing. We see it in corporate America, okay, where male CEOs still out-earn female CEOs. The gap is real, and it's a part of a much larger cultural issue tied to gender, power, and who society decides is worth the bigger check. But the way that Claressa, Salida, and Wynn framed her deal, you would have thought that women's boxing was some uniquely impoverished sport where female fighters were being treated like charity cases, and she was the first woman to ever ascend into this elite financial status. That is misleading. Because when people think of boxing, they don't think about the average fighter. They think about the fantasy version of boxing. They think Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather. They think $1 million purses, private jets, and these big-ass arenas packed with celebrities. But that is not the reality for most boxers, whether they're a man or a woman. Most boxers are not touching that level of money. A lot of them have second jobs. For most of them, boxing is a passion and not a sustainable career. It's something that they love to do, but it's something that they have to sacrifice for, because this is not something that's going to automatically make them rich. And that same dynamic applies to women's boxing. When people think of women's boxing, they think of the names at the top: Claressa, Amanda Serrano, Alicia, Katie Taylor, the big marquee names, the big ticket fighters. Those are the ones with visibility. But there are countless women in boxing who will never reach that elite financial tier, just like there are countless men in boxing who will never reach it either. So yeah, there is a gender pay gap, absolutely. But there is also a massive gap between the average boxer and rare few who become stars. Claressa's framing blurred those two conversations together, and that's where it became less about advocacy and more about self-mythology. And we all know the one thing Claressa is absolutely going to do is diminish everybody around her just to make herself appear bigger. We saw it with Nylah. We've seen it with Alicia. We've seen it with Remy. We've seen it with everybody. So now let's break down this deception. Claressa is not the richest female boxer. Claressa isn't even the top paid female boxer. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano have both seen paydays that Claressa hasn't even seen yet. Listen, baby, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, their 2025 trilogy was a combined purse pool of $18 million. And that, my honeys, was the largest boxing purse payout in the history of women's boxing. To put it into perspective, Katie Taylor has made $6.1 million for absolutely just one fight. Claressa has an $8 million 360 deal with tons of hands, and they gotta be greased. Her $3 million advance is more than likely the largest payout that contract will ever yield, which is why she's shopping all these other things like baddies, Japanese wrestling, rapping, and singing. She has to make money for her quote unquote owners in that 360 deal, baby. She's basically a sharecropper. And I don't say that to diminish her, okay? She's absolutely getting to bags that most of us will never see. But to put it into perspective, she is literally the product, right? And the rest of them are making all of this money off of her. In fact, what I'm going to lay out for y'all is super disturbing, because really she is the cash cow. And I don't know if she realized just how much of the cow she really is. It's actually quite embarrassing. But you know what? In order to get in the kind of deal that she's in, you literally have to be exploitable, vulnerable, and basically contract illiterate. Let's get into it. But do keep at the back of your mind, Katie Taylor made $6.1 million from one fight. Claressa is guaranteed $8 million for 4 fights. Okay? So technically, she has what would be considered a landmark historical contract, because no woman was dumb enough to sign a contract that is at the top of their game, at the top echelon of boxing, and they limit themselves to only a minimum of $8 million. That's insane. So the deal itself is literally delayed and dumb. But now we're going to get into how dumb it is and who she's actually signed to, who she's working for and with. Because y'all, the stuff that I was able to uncover and find out about Wynn and their inner workings and who owns the company is insane. I'm just about to put it out here. And y'all know I like to typically do my videos from a psychological standpoint. This is not going to be psychologically driven. I'll double back and do another video about that. But listen, this you cannot make up. As y'all know, let's get into it. Claressa Shields is signed to Wynn Records. This is her quote unquote historic exclusive $8 million deal that both her and Papoose brag about all the time. Wynn Records is owned by Ruben Branson. Ruben Branson is a Chicago native, but he now resides in California. According to their corporate filings, He is the sole owner and lists no other officers in the company. So when they were at the meeting table, when they did the interview, when she first signed the deal, they did introduce Papoose as like creative director. They introduced a guy named Mike as some sort of executive, but none of these people are on the paperwork, and I can't find any information on the one guy anyway. But we'll get back to that in another video because, baby, when I tell you I'm digging, I'm digging. According to the California Secretary of State, Wynn Records LLC was filed in California on June 25th, 2025. As of today, June 24th, 2026, that means it has been 364 days, basically 1 year old tomorrow. Literally a baby label, respectfully. This same listing shows Ruben Branson listed as a registered agent, manager, and CEO. Their own website currently presents Wynn Records as a full-service talent and music agency representing artists, entertainers, and athletes. And his talent page lists people like, of course, Papoose and Claressa Shields. Now, we already know Gen Z didn't even know anything about Papoose until all of this mess. So that should tell you where they are talent-wise. And yes, the daughter, Khadijah Branson, she's actually making music, and I actually think she's pretty talented, but she's not necessarily a household name. There is not a big commercial footprint for her as of yet. So their big ticket item literally is Claressa Shields, who of course got there by way of Papoose. Now, I'm showing all of this for a reason. Remember, we are going to tie Papoose to all of this. So it really doesn't take a rocket science for you to realize that this company, within this 1 year that they've been on paper, on record with a corporate filing, has not necessarily made any money. Let's go through the artist roster first.
Today we are blessed to have one of the greatest out right now. This homeboy was signed to Bad Boy at one point. And some of y'all might know him from his debuts on LA Leakers and his infamous freestyles. The one and only King Los.
So King Los debuted his album God, Money, and War, and it entered the Billboard 200, and it peaked at number 68 back in 2015. It also performed much better on genre-specific charts and reached number 5 on the top R&B hip-hop album charts and number 4 on the top rap albums chart. Unfortunately, I never heard of him until last year, but I did check out his music, and actually it's pretty good. Now, as for the Billboard 100 singles chart, he's never had a major solo hit there, but he did appear on a record that actually charted with like French Montana and a couple of other people, so that kind of helped with his visibility. So by himself, his highest Billboard 200 position was 68. Top rap albums, he got number 4, and top R&B hip hop, he got number 5. But he has had no major hits on a Hot 100. So the thing about him is he is one of those artists whose reputation among rappers is much larger than his actual commercial numbers. So he's widely respected for lyricism, freestyles, ghostwriting, and all that kind of stuff. Because like he's written for Drake, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, and a couple of other people consider him a quote unquote rapper's rapper, kind of like Papoose, right? Where Papoose absolutely has a level of celebrity amongst Gen Xers like myself and other people. But if you're looking for someone that you can just point to with commercial success, he's never had it. And I say all that to say, again, he is not going to be having the ability to float a company, give them a lot of revenue, or a whole lot of visibility that will make them profitable. And trust me, I'm telling you guys all of this stuff about the inner workings for a reason, and it's gonna make a lot of sense because at the end of the day, a company has to make money. Next, we have Emerson. Now, Emerson is from Sierra Leone, and he is also very, very talented. I got a chance to check out his music. Now, the thing about Emerson is that he has received no major recognition in American billboards. He's not charted anywhere, okay? But he is very popular in Sierra Leone. He has made cultural impacts there, and well, he did sell 12,000 copies of his album within the first 24 hours. And given the size of that market, I guess that's a good thing. So when you see them taking trips to Africa and going to do things over there and making appearances, they're literally floating off of the back of Emerson when they go there. So they're probably treated very, very well there and allowed to take vacations there because people absolutely do love and adore Emerson over there. But he's still not even the biggest artist in that country. And then we have Khadijah. Now, Khadijah is very talented, very pretty girl, and also the daughter of Ruben Branson. What Khadijah doesn't have is any serious accolades in the American market or anywhere else for that matter. She's not charted at all. She's not necessarily recognized that much. Many people still don't know who she is, but due to the association of Claressa Shields, due to Claressa Shields being viral all the time, for literally the wrong things, she also is getting a little bit more popularity and buzz. People are starting to know who she is, but she's not making any money for this company because no one really knows about her. She's not necessarily hit her mark yet. So Papoose would be the most recognizable. But the thing about Papoose is he still has never ever had mainstream success. He did really good with like mixtapes. Of course, he was on reality TV, but his biggest draw to him was the fact that his wife had a huge career, that his wife is the one that has always been popular. And ironically, even the visibility that he has today has more to do with the fact that he is Remy Ma's husband. And unfortunately, that's the same to say with Claressa Shields. A lot of her visibility and popularity at this point comes from the fact that she is the side chick to Remy's husband. That being said, the only commercial and mainstream draw that Wynn Records actually has is Claressa Shields. Now, remember, a few minutes ago, I already told y'all that this company literally just came into fruition about a year ago. At least they just put themselves legitimately on paper a year ago, actually 364 days ago.
So one would ask, where does the money come from? Where does the experience on handling athletes and musicians come from? And why would boxing's arguably most talented boxer right now, who alleges that she's the greatest woman of all times, be on Wynn Records? Like, what would literally be the draw to be in this company that literally just turned a year? Now, listen, it's literally stating the obvious to say that she was absolutely pressured into this deal by Papoose.
In what ways has Papoose brought you peace?
It's like he has some experience over me as far as in like how long he's been here. So I'm being honored tonight and I'm making big deals in my career and I'm doing all this stuff, but it's like he's done it already. So when it's like I'm making decisions or having to figure things out, I can always come to him. It's almost like he's a cheat code almost. He's been like helping direct my life, and even when it comes like to people, if somebody is disloyal to me or somebody hurt me, he like cut him off. Like once I cut him off, he don't want to hear about me no more.
That's not New York in you.
Yeah, it's like, nah, dude, we ain't doing that. He like my superhero. If something go wrong, Pap is right there to fix it. Like, don't worry, I got it. And he really...
Allegedly.
Her wanting to remain in proximity to him, her building this life with him and family with him in her mind, and of course, her wanting to further convince the public that he is some sort of mogul, that they are going to build a future marriage and all this together. This literally lends to that fairy tale. But let's ask, can Ruben Branson handle this kind of marketing? Is his company able to float these contracts, able to position Claressa and other artists where they need to be? And I want you to ask yourself, how come there are no other athletes signed to Wynn Records right now? Well, it's probably for the obvious. Let me ask you guys a question. And this is not optional. I want class participation. So answer the damn question. If you needed to have open heart surgery, would you go to a doctor or would you go to a hairstylist? Yeah, I know y'all think that's a dumb question, and what does that have to do with what we're talking about? But stay with me now. And don't forget to answer the question in the comments. Next question. If you needed your hair done, would you go to a plumber to get it done?
I am dead ass serious. Y'all better be answering these questions.
Now, let me take you here for a moment. If you guys remember, MVP Promotions offered her a spot. She turned that spot down. I can't prove it, but I'm quite sure this has something to do with Papoose wanting to bring her onto Wynn Records as opposed to MVP. Now, you know how Claressa feels about Jake Paul. She doesn't like him, even though he offered her a spot. And when you look at it,
being a free agent.
Oh my gosh, listen, it was worth it, but it was so difficult. I mean, listen, I have 4 different contracts. Looking at everybody's contracts, weighing the pros and cons. And listen, I just was like, it was very stressful. It was not easy at all. But I almost signed with MVP. Close.
How close? How close?
Like super close.
Okay. So what happened?
Honestly, I like everything that they stand for. Me and Nikisa were able to talk a lot, and he was understanding my vision. I think that some of our stuff aligned, but it just wasn't. It wasn't enough money. You know what I'm saying? And
really interesting that it wasn't enough money, but yet those girls are making more money than her. Let us continue.
he at least has some experience in the field that she is currently pursuing. On top of that, they're one of the fastest growing promotions company right now. And guess who's signed to them? Amanda Serrano is signed to them, Alicia Baumgardner, and there have been co-promotional projects done with Katie Taylor. And remember, I already told and showed you that those two women, Katie and Amanda, have literally made the most money in boxing right now today. Claressa turned down MVP Productions for a 360 deal with a record company. So now let's double back to those silly questions that I was asking. Now, of course, if you needed open heart surgery, you wouldn't be going to a hairstylist. And of course, if you wanted your hair done, you wouldn't be going to a plumber. So then tell me why, if you were a boxer, the one that claims to be the top at the boxing echelon right now, the historical greatest woman of all time, why would you sign to a record label with no hits?
No hit makers.
That is being ran by a nurse. Did y'all hear me? Yeah, a nurse. Let me make it plainer for you. Ruben is a nurse. Not even an RN though. Ruben is an LVN. Most of us know this job title to be LPN, but in the state of California, they're called LVNs. Ruben is a retired veteran who has been in the nursing field since about 2009. Ruben has never really seen a whole lot of success or had any business ventures that were huge in profitability. And based on what is publicly available in records, has had a slew of businesses that have had questionable dealings. I mean, when I say questionable, I mean like having their SEC status suspended, terminated, things like that. And ironically, Nurse Ruben built his businesses at their largest peak starting around the pandemic era. And I'm not saying this is exactly what happened, but I did notice that he did get a $700,000 PPP loan. And of course, it was completely forgiven.
So I don't know about y'all, but I do find it suspicious that Ruben Branson didn't start acquiring properties for these businesses until after the PPP loan era, which was typically supposed to be given so that paychecks could be protected. And I also find it odd that he has multiple liens, that these businesses have been in foreclosure multiple times, and that he doesn't seem to be able to keep up with his taxes. Now, as far as his own real estate portfolio, there is a property that he's had for many, many years in Chicago that is in the ghetto. And most of the properties, actually, I would say all of the properties are actually in his daughter Khadijah's name, which hasn't saved any of these properties from being in foreclosure. And again, a lot of his businesses end up in a status with the SEC to where they literally are suspended or terminated. And then there's not much of a digital footprint for these companies. I mean, one could think that they might just be shell companies. And one could think that the reason why the properties are under Khadijah's name is because Khadijah doesn't have the tax liens. Although she has been fined and has liens because she's not keeping up the property. But she actually is keeping up her esthetician's license, so at least she's doing that. Which brings me back to my original point. In 2019, she registered as an esthetician. In 2020, when they began the course of getting PPP loans, is when she started getting these businesses in her name. So baby, it's like this. Claressa is literally the come up for Papoose, Ruben Branson, and his daughter Khadijah, because none of them had the spotlight, the limelight, any real attention until this situation popped off. And since there are no hit artists or hit records that are associated with quote unquote Wynn Records, one should ask, what is it? Well, based on their current business model and their ventures, I would say that they were a low-level marketing company. The larger company that Claressa is associated with, as well as Wynn Records, would be Salida Promotions and Dazn. And here's where this gets interesting, because Salida Promotions themselves, they do have some associations with people like Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano and quite a few others. But they are a promotional company, right? So the way that they make their money is through promotion, through percentages of what the boxer or the entertainer makes and things of that nature. Dazn, however, is the big ticket holder. They make their money from everything, and they are a much larger and successful company. They've got their hands in literally everything. Tons of subscription revenue across many different genres. So when it came to possibly putting Claressa Shields and Laila Ali in the boxing ring together, baby, you know where that money was coming from. It literally would have been an investment on behalf of Dazn primarily. Salida does not have that kind of revenue. Wynn Records definitely didn't. I mean, if you think about it, this Branson guy has over $300,000 in tax liens right now. Papoose has all these liens. Like, Claressa has a bunch of liens. I mean, at this point, that group is lien city. I mean, hell, even Khadijah has it. So if they can't even pay a damn near $1,600, maybe $1,800 lien for Khadijah, what makes you think they were going to be able to front that kind of money for Laila Ali and Claressa Shields? And that's where Dazn would have came in. Dazn would have came in and been able to do that based off the fact that that would have been a universally appealing boxing match. As much as Claressa talks about she wanted it to like defeat and slay Laila, in actuality, what this fight would have done was literally given Wynn Records the type of percentage and revenue that they would have needed to solidify themselves as an actual promotional company. It would have been tons of money for Dazn, good money for Salida. Everybody would have ate well. Claressa by herself is not a big enough draw, even though she has all of these belts. And one of the reasons why is for the same reasons that Laila Ali was telling her to go down in a weight class. There's not too many people Claressa can fight at her weight class, which is why she has to go down. Or maybe we could even hope that someone like Katie or Amanda could go up and whoop her ass. But that's neither here nor there, because now we have to get into, again, the reason why Claressa is taking all these other avenues in order to generate revenue. So we don't have the contract in front of us, but the way these contracts go is that the actual boxer or artist have to make a certain amount of money. So Claressa has to get busy. Claressa needs merch. Claressa needs brand deals. Claressa needs fights. And when you look at the types of brand deals that all of the other boxing ladies have, even some of the men, you kind of see why Claressa is becoming a risk. And my prediction is that is going to be her undoing. Now back to Wynn Records. The reason why Ruben Branson doesn't care how she's acting and how belligerent she behaves and all of the cutting up that she's doing on social media is because he lacks the business experience. That nurse don't know shit about the boxing industry professionally. That nurse doesn't know anything about this promotional situation that she would really, really need in order to propel her forward. The nurse doesn't even really know anything about selling music, obviously, because he's not selling any. But he's aligned himself with Papoose in order to validate or give himself some sort of look or appeal of dealing with an artist that's considered a veteran. But on paper, he has nothing. And when we put Papoose back into the equation, we have to go back to what happened between him and Remy Ma. Remy told us that he was getting 20% off of everything that she did as her quote-unquote manager. Now, she also mentioned he wasn't paying the bills with his 20%, but that's another conversation for another day, baby. But again, I said all this to say the main benefiters from all of this is everyone else but Claressa. And just think, if Claressa does do her big one, turn it around, get the brand deals, get everything together like she should, and she runs up a bag for them, will she actually benefit in the long run? She's already been banned from one major boxing promotional company. She's shown herself not to be a good sportsman. She's literally chasing internet fame. But I will say this, the positive side to all of this with her connection with Ruben Branson is that he actually specializes in people with mental health conditions. So perhaps he could help her out a little bit. But anyway, let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. Do you think that Nurse Branson can help propel Claressa to greatness? Or do you think that she's going to do so much reputational damage to herself and Wynn Records that by the time her 2-year contract is up, no one worth their weight would want to work with her? Please do let me know down in the comment section. I do try to get the time to read the comments. Thank you guys for supporting me, and most definitely thanks to the Vibers for patiently waiting for this video that I screwed up like 2 or 3 times while making it. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Have a blessed day.